Now, he wasn't saying that you ain't never going to be ready to do this. That's not what he's saying. Some of y'all just ain't ready to do it now. Well, how would you say that, preacher? Because he says that one must be perfect. Now, when we think of perfect, we think of something without flaw, without blemish, without any marks of any kind. But what the original Greek was saying was when one becomes complete, when one becomes mature, when one has grown in grace, then you have achieved perfection. We're never going to be without flaw, but we can grow in grace. So what is he saying? If you have not grown in grace, if you haven't been completed, if you haven't matured spiritually, then you ought not want to do this. This is not for the novice. This is not for one that still got some growing to do. Amen? Well, why is that? Because he says there's some things that we need to understand. He said, first of all, he said, we want to talk about this tongue. See, he illustrated that, first of all, there are three things about the tongue that we have to grasp that frankly, some of us ain't figured out yet. The first thing that we have to grasp, the first thing that we have to understand about the tongue is that the tongue has the power to direct. You see, he gave the illustration of about how a horse is controlled by a little bit of metal in his mouth. Now, some of y'all probably saw the Kentucky Derby yesterday, and you know, for some folk that's a real big event. You know, they put the big hats on and sip those mint juleps, and watch those horses run around the track. And it's fascinating how a small man, relatively speaking, can get on this horse and make him run to the maximum speed that he can, and the horse will go where he wants him to go. And it's all because there's a little thing in the horse's mouth that's called a bit, that when the jockey pulls left, the horse goes left. If the jockey pulls right, the horse goes right. If he pulls straight back, the horse stops. Just this little itty-bitty piece of metal can direct this great big old animal to go wherever he wants him to go. And if folk didn't get that illustration, he used the illustration about a ship. And how a ship, as big as it may be, these ships he was talking about were wind powered, but even today with our diesel powered and nuclear powered ships, those great big old aircraft carriers, as big as they are, as long as 3 football fields, the rudder is just a small piece of metal that hangs on the back of the boat that turns the boat wherever it needs to go. James said, so is the tongue. It's the smallest thing, but yet it's the thing that can set the direction. It has the power to direct your life either to the positive or the negative, or it has the power to inspire people to greater heights or lower depths. All of us at one time or another have experienced somebody saying something about us that made us step a little higher. Or they said something that made you feel a little bit lower. Sometimes I think we say things and are not even conscious of how they impact on people. I can remember I had a teacher, Ms. Moore. I didn't like Ms. Moore. She didn't like me. And she could say some mean things. And she, you know, I was, like I said, I was never a little skinny kid. I've been big all my life. And I remember as a child that we were in class having lunch, and Mama would pack my lunch. and I always had good lunch. Because Mom was always packing them bologna sandwiches, and the kids who would get the bag lunch from school would get them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They put all that peanut butter and jelly on, and nobody wanted to eat that, and I would swap my bologna sandwiches for peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So I might end up with 2-3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Hey, I was a little fat kid. What can I say? And one day, I remember sitting down to my lunch, minding my business. I didn't even swap with anybody that day. And I overheard Ms. Moore tell another teacher, yeah, Kenneth got that great big old lunch today. His mom always packed too much food for him. That's why he all fat. Needless to say, she was not one of my favorite teachers. I don't even know if she thought about it or if she thought I heard it, but I didn't appreciate that. I ain't do nothing to her. We have to be careful about what we say and how we say it, because we don't know how this stuff impacts on people. You see, life and death is in the power of the tongue. We can inspire people to go to greater heights, or we can inspire them to be nothing, all by what you say to them. You can give an encouraging word and somebody can say, well, I can do it because Miss So-and-so said I could. Or you could tell a child, you ain't nothing, your daddy wasn't nothing, you ain't gonna be nothing, where you come from, ain't none of them folk nothing, no how. We have to be mindful of what we say to folk, because the tongue has the power to direct.